vetoes on the same contentious policy could set up a political showdown when Texas lawmakers return to the Capitol next month for a special session. This rift stemming from the state's two top leaders over whether to regulate or outright ban consumable hemp products like vapes, gummies, and drinks.
Just yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick went after Governor Greg Abbott for vetoing that ban. He even claimed he thinks the governor wants to legalize THC for recreational use by supporting certain restrictions on its availability here in Texas. We want to talk more about this, about where this could lead with two former state lawmakers. Today, we are joined remotely by Dennis Bonnen, who's in the center here, the former House Speaker who represented Southeast Texas, while Mark Strama here in the studio previously served as a Democratic representative for the Austin area. Mark and Dennis, welcome back to you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Dennis, we obviously would love to have you in person, but we appreciate you being here remotely. But I want to start with you. So throughout the regular legislative session earlier this year, we heard constantly about how the state's big three, the governor, lieutenant governor, House Speaker, were all on the same page, united in such a big way. However, Dan Patrick and Greg Abbott are not on the same issue when it comes to THC. So since we know this is coming back for debate during the special session starting on July 21st, where do you think this will put us?
Look, the lieutenant governor said it yesterday. He said, look, we're still friends. We'll still figure this out. We're still going to work together. This is just one issue of numerous issues. Now, it is honed down because we're now to the point where there are very few issues left with the special session that the governor's called. And I think what maybe is getting missed in all this is that the governor did veto the bill, but then immediately said, I'm having a special on July 21st, which is not normal. That's an unusual occurrence. And here's exactly how I believe you can fix this bill to make it work. And the oddity of this, in my opinion, is that they're not arguing terribly different policy. They're arguing the constitutionality and the legal ability for the legislation to withstand scrutiny. And so I think they're going to get on the same page. It may not be exactly where either one wants to be, but I think it'll be very close because there's not a massive difference in what they're talking about and what their objective is. The only real significance is what they have differing perspectives of what is constitutional and what would pass legal scrutiny.
Dennis mentioned there the legality of this. We'll note for our audience the governor's veto proclamation laid out his concerns about SB 3, chief among them being lawsuits would have kept this from taking effect. So he says that's why the bill needs changes. So Mark, I want to ask you now your reaction to that. We know there were several arguments against SB 3, the legality being one, but there were other things we heard from folks against it. So your reaction to how that could shape the conversation during this special session?
Well, let's remember the process. The Senate passed an outright ban. It went to the House. The House held all-day hearings and all-night hearings, took testimony from hundreds of witnesses, 95% of whom opposed an outright ban, and many who are people who use the product or who sell the product also advocated for a significant new regulatory regime to protect against the excesses and the harms the industry has experienced. And they brought that bill out of committee by a bipartisan vote, and then on the floor of the House, it got amended to be a total ban. I said at the time on this show, we talked about, I think that's bad policy. I think a lot of people, it's an $8 billion industry. There's a lot of people making money off of it. There's also a lot of people who depend on the product. And it does need to be regulated. So I thought the governor did the right thing with the veto. I also think it's a moment we should take a minute to acknowledge the hard work of advocacy that a lot of Texans did to probably change his mind. I don't know where his head was throughout the legislative process on this, but there's no doubt that the hard work of a bunch of people made a difference in his final decision.
And we had covered that advocacy pretty well during the session up until this point. So again, we'll have to see what ends up happening during the special when it begins next month. We want to ask, though, the governor does have the sole power to set the agenda for a special session. That's laid out in the Texas state rules. So there are reports, though, that some Trump allies would like that to include an effort to possibly redraw congressional maps here in Texas to potentially add more Republican seats here in Texas. Dennis, I want to ask you, though, and we'll bring in Mark here in just a moment, but...
My favorite topic. I don't get to go first
I know.
on this.
We're
He makes
coming
fun
back
of me
to
every
it.
time I bring it up.
But Dennis, can you talk to us, what are you hearing about this? Has that been a conversation that you've had picked up during your experiences with other people?
Yeah, there are conversations being had about, do we follow these blue states that did congressional redistricting? Does Texas do the congressional redistricting? And I want to preempt Mark and set the tone for him. So there are some conversations, but they're low level at this point. If this happens, it should bring Mark Strama closer to his goal, which is you would actually have to create far more districts that are going to be decided in November versus those that he hates so much that are decided solely in a primary. And so Mark Strama should be begging the governor in the Texas legislature to do congressional redistricting to get him closer to his hopes and his dreams of November decided candidates. And so with that said, I think they'll end up doing congressional redistricting in the July special, because I think the pressure is going to build on that, because some blue states have done this ahead of this, and so it puts some pressure on Texas to try and do it, and I think that's where we're headed.
Mark, I'll let you jump in now. You've been dying to that whole time.
Look, AI Dennis. Thank you for telling me
Is that
what
because
I
I'm
should
so
think
absolutely
on this
brilliant
policy.
now?
Yeah. Look, what he means when he says I should support it is that the Republican proposal is to take Republican voters, to make the districts more narrowly Republican in order to create more Republican majority districts. And that is a dangerous game to play. It does open up the possibility that some of those districts become more competitive and they lose more of them. That's actually, so the story of how I got into the legislature, in 2003 I was living out of state and I was working in the private sector. And Tom DeLay came to the Texas legislature and said, we didn't win as many congressional districts as we could have, and we need to redraw the district boundaries so that we can get more Republican districts. In other words, don't like what the voters did, we're going to gerrymander the districts to preordain the outcome independent of the voters, how the voters are voting. I, at the time, said there's no way Texas will ever do that. No one had ever done redistricting just for the purpose of changing the outcomes of the elections. We crossed a huge Rubicon when we did that. It's what caused me to run for office in 2004. Our policy should not be that we try to determine the outcomes of elections just by the way we draw lines. We do it after the census because we have to reapportion the population so that there's an equal number of voters in each district. And until 2003, we had never done redistricting just for pure political purposes. Doing it this year is as wrong as it was back then. We shouldn't do it. If we really want to fix the way our elections work and make politicians more accountable to voters, we've got to get rid of these gerrymandered districts where the primary is the only election that matters and you can represent a district by winning the votes of fewer than 15% of the people in that district. That's the problem with our political system today. In case we're about to run out of...
He beat an incumbent Republican as a Democrat to win that seat in November. So there are competitive districts.
Yeah, I did. It was one of the 5 competitive districts. You're right. And it's an example of what you're talking about. They had carved that district too thin. And that's what you're saying they might do if they try to redistrict again this. And look, I mean, if they do it, I hope that is the outcome, but I don't think they should do it.
With that said, too, our Texas congressmen and women, I think they're not, you know, I'm not speaking for them, but I'm not sure they're in love with this idea.
Right, because they'll have narrower margins in their districts. Yeah. You're probably right. They're probably not in love with it. Listen, yesterday we were supposed to do this segment, and we got bumped by war.
Yes.
And I came here, but that's this morning, and we'll see. But I came here ready to say, I have a lot of praise for the governor on his decision on the veto of SB3. 2 hours after we were supposed to do the segment yesterday, the Statesman reported that among his vetoes was a line item veto of a $60 million appropriation that draws down $450 million in federal funding for lunches for low-income kids during the summer when they don't get the free and reduced lunch that they get at school. And that is the most baffling veto I've ever seen. And I hope that that is addressed in the special session and fixed, because if you stack ranked all the things we spend money on in the state, in the $400+ billion budget that the state of Texas just adopted, there's a lot of things you would put low on the priority list, things like film incentives and others. At the top of the priority list would be an investment in food for poor kids that is matched 9-to-1 by the federal government.
And Dennis, if you had a few thoughts about that, we don't want to leave you out of that part of the conversation too.
Look, actually, if you look at the governor's vetoes, they were incredibly thoughtful, and he gave really far more than is normally expected or given by a governor, explanation in detail as to what his concerns with the issue or the bill was, and therefore why he took the action he took. And I actually think the governor should be commended for being that open and that clear and that frankly intelligent in policy perspective with the people of Texas on the significant decisions that he made.
I would have agreed with you yesterday when I read the governor's veto statements on all of the bills that he vetoed, but there's no defending that budget veto. And and if you're right that he's got a good reason for it, then he can fix it in the special session.
Well, we will leave our conversation there, but I will let our viewers know that coming up this afternoon on KXAN News at 4, we will have much more conversation about that very line item veto, so you all can tune in for more of that. But for now, Dennis and Mark, thank you again for joining us. Dennis, enjoy the beautiful locale wherever you are. We appreciate you, though, beaming into us to have this conversation. So thanks again to both of you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back after this.